20 years after the tragedy of 9/11, Americans have yet to fully reckon with how our government reacted to the terrorist attacks. How did 9/11 lead to a militaristic call to impose transformative change in the Middle East and beyond? How did it propel us into forever war? Failing to answer these questions will doom the United States to repeat the same mistakes that brought us here. Now, Bush is responsible for the failures in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, and Obama for many of its continued failed policies. But responsibility goes beyond individuals. America's militarized foreign policy began long before Al-Qaeda targeted the US. 9/11 was a trigger that just accelerated it, not a root cause. The root of our post-9/11 hyper-militarism is the belief that America's security can only be achieved through global military domination. Winning the Cold War crystallized this approach, and in the 90s, primacy became a signature of the country's statecraft, in places like Panama, Kuwait, Somalia, Haiti, Bosnia, just to name a few. Even without an attack like 9/11, endless wars would have come to characterize America's national security. Neoconservatives just used 9/11 as a justification to expand the use of preemptive military force, a policy that sadly at the time enjoyed bipartisan support. To end tyranny, the US chased shadowy terrorists and divided the world between democracies and autocracies. The latter were existential threats to be eliminated. Claiming it stood for a rules-based international order, the US tried to remake the world in America's image of liberal democracy, at the barrel of a gun. But this project has failed. Ending the war in Afghanistan after 20 years is a critical step to reversing this failure, and it should render a definitive judgment on our costly pattern of reckless behavior. But as long as the US bases its foreign policy on primacy, the country will continue to pursue domination for the sake of domination, and regardless of its impact on American security, will always be on the edge of war. So as we commemorate the tragedy of 9/11, we need to go beyond the question of individual blame and reckon with the system and an ideology that sustains forever war. Otherwise, it won't take another terrorist attack to trigger more unwise and destructive actions that weaken us as a nation.